Alofa Leatu and welcome to our news bulletin for BCN News. Leading our news tonight, 95% of the more than 200 children on the island aged 5 to 11 years old took their first dose of the pediatric Pfizer vaccine last week. Despite the hesitation of some parents, the majority of children were vaccinated.
It's not the most comfortable of feelings waiting to get an injection of any sort for adults, let alone a child. And of course, the fear is made worse during these unprecedented pandemic times. So it was a huge success for the health department and credit to their staff for making the vaccine rollout bearable for the little ones. It was a superhero theme and the hospital interior and the courtyard was decorated with balloons and superhero character cutouts. There were colouring stations and there were TV screens showing cartoons. As children walk into the hospital, they were welcomed by cheerful staff and the cartoons playing on the TV screen. After their injection, they also sat for their 20 minutes watching cartoons before leaving with their parents. According to the health department, 207 children were vaccinated at the hospital and 3 children received their vaccines while they were on break in New Zealand.
The government yesterday provided an update to the village councils and the media on the water contamination situation. Clinton Chapman told BCN News that at least one village, Hakupu, has given the all clear, but there is still a great deal of work to restore the water quality for the rest of the villages. Here's Esther Pavihi with more.
Clinton Chapman, Director of Water and Utilities, told BCN News that since the contamination was detected in December last year, the Departments of Utilities, Health and Environment have been working together to address the issues of the contamination, as well as seeking donor support to procure new tanks for villages worst affected.
The immediate actions that we are partaking. So by the end of March, we should have those actions done. For example, that includes cleaning of the water reservoirs in each village. Doing remedial works at the water boards to make things better for the water quality. So that'll be done sequentially over the next few weeks. We'll start off with Vaia, Lakapa and Liku. Some good news is that Hakupu is good enough to drink at the moment without being treated.
BCN News also spoke with the head of public health, Griselda Mokoia, whose team is responsible for the testing of the water. She also explains their testing process and what they test for in the water.
So our water quality testing and monitoring program is continuous each year. So we are required to to carry out water sampling and analysis every quarter. So from the findings that we've had last year, in Q1 we started noticing that there were already some contamination in the system in some of the water tanks that we have in the villages. So there were 6 of them, and then towards the end of the year, December, that number increased to 13 contaminated sites. So that was when we had alerted our colleagues who are also in charge of looking after the water quality of the country to also have a look at it and see what are the mitigating factors and what support they would need from health to make sure that the water is safe for public consumption.
Can you explain the testing process and what can you test for now and what have you been testing for?
Yep. So from all of the testing programs that we've conducted, we are just looking at coliform and E. coli, so also the pH of the water, electrical conductivity, turbidities, just the cloudiness that's in the water, and trying to find out. We also do risk assessment of the tanks to understand where the actual contamination is coming from. So that would also help our water division team to plan what it is that needs to be done for the tanks or the bores to find out the source of contamination and also deal with it.
The ageing infrastructure is also a major concern for the government, with the deteriorating conditions of the reservoir tanks in some villages and very old water infrastructure. The government is committing to a 5-year plan of action to address the ageing infrastructure.
In the long term, we're looking at complete overhaul and replacement of a lot of the assets. As you know, most of these assets are over 40 years old. A lot of our water reservoirs have got holes on the roof and also the tanks themselves. When we have that situation, we allow ingress of contamination, whether it's from the soil around it or from insects that living around the tank areas. So those replacements we're looking at in the next 2 to 5 years to do a complete upgrade of the system. But in the meantime, we have several projects that we're talking about today at the workshop that we can address some of those issues. The replacement of those urgent tanks that need replacement. For instance, Lakapa, Tuapa, Liku. Those are things that we can start straight away. We have the money here with the number of projects that we have, and we can start the procurement of those. With COVID, the suppliers, it's taking a while to get here on the island, but we'll get there.
With the support of the Environment Department, other government agencies and projects and the New Zealand government, the Government of Niue will be installing UV water treatment systems in every village. Alofi, Hakupu and Alofi North already have UV systems in place.
We're working with the New Zealand High Commission, and I'm thankful for their support to provide some funding support for each of the villages in terms of the ultraviolet treated units that we have in Alofi already, Alofi North Village Council and Hakupu Village Council. So that provides drinking water collection points where the community can access. Whilst we are working on cleaning the water tanks and fixing the water bores so that our water quality returns to the normal standards that we're used to.
Clinton Chapman told BCN News that water contamination happens from time to time, particularly during heavy rain seasons. But such as the contamination incident of 2018, the government is confident that they will restore the water quality to what we're used to. But for now, the advice is to continue to boil water before drinking.
63 local businesses have supported the opening of borders, according to a quick survey done by Chamber of Commerce. The government is also preparing for a two-way quarantine-free travel with New Zealand at the end of April. Here's more on that story. The CEO of Chamber of Commerce, Catherine Papani, told BCN News that they conducted a quick-fire survey with more than 60% across all sectors. More than 50% of businesses responded with a mixture of views. Some of the respondents want only VFR or visiting friends and relatives tourists only and not to open to bona fide tourists just yet. Respondents are receptive to opening of borders, but they need assurances that the government agencies and the health department have the capacity to respond. 64% said that if the borders open in April, they will welcome and serve all visitors to their business, while 36% said no to serving new visitors and would only serve locals. Some respondents said that because only vaccinated people are allowed to Niue, but business owners will want assurances of negative tests on arrival. 77% of businesses who responded to the Chamber of Commerce survey said they don't yet have a COVID-19 safe plan. Last month, Premier Dalton Dangilangi told BCN News that the government is still working towards the end of April for the two-way quarantine-free travel with New Zealand. This means that a limited number of passengers will be permitted to travel to Niue, but will not be required to quarantine. The government has not released information on when bona fide tourists will be allowed. Travelling to Niue will cost a bit more now, with the passengers encouraged to pay for the PCR tests 72 hours prior to travelling and to expect to complete a rapid antigen test at the airport as well. Here's Esther Pavihi with more.
On Tuesday this week, the government, via a press release, informed of new procedures at the airport in Auckland for passengers flying to Niue. All passengers will now be required to take a rapid antigen test at the Auckland airport prior to departure. This new process began from the last flight last week, when a father and his teenage son were not allowed to fly because one of them failed the rapid antigen test. This test will provide results in a matter of minutes, which is what the government has included in its pre-departure protocols because of the delays to the PCR test results, as New Zealand's number of Omicron cases increase in New Zealand and the number of testing done has increased as well. The passengers on Monday's flight were also tested on arrival, and all 31 passengers have tested negative. Amongst the 31 passengers is a team of 5 medical staff from Pacifica Futures who are here to assist and train the Niue frontline and staff and health team. The second COVID test for passengers in MIQ was conducted today, and the results will be released by the government as soon as they are available.
Police were called to a near-drowning incident at Sir Robert's Wharf last week Saturday when 3 young people found themselves in trouble in rough sea conditions. The police are reminding the public not to take unnecessary risk during rough sea conditions. Here's more. In response to questions from BCN News, Police Inspector and Acting Chief of Police Brent Ioane said the police were called to the Sir Robert's Wharf on Saturday evening when 3 boys got caught up in a rip at the channel because of the rough conditions. He said that if there had been any adults around the scene, the incident could have ended in tragedy. BCN News understands that the 3 boys went to the wharf for a swim after the touch rugby tournament. Because of this near-drowning incident, the police closed Sir Robert's Wharf to the public on Saturday evening. Inspector Ioane said the message is simple and clear: to keep out of the water if the sea conditions are rough. The Tonga community last Saturday nearly raised $12,000 for their families and friends in Tonga recovering from the devastation of the volcanic eruption and tsunami of January 15th. The leaders of the Tonga community wanted to thank everyone who supported their fundraising efforts over the weekend and to continue to show support.
Organisers told BCN News that 450 plates were sold on Saturday at the commercial centre, as well as drinks and direct donations were also received on the day. The fundraising efforts went on into the night with the hula hula and karaoke night at the Golf and Sports Club, which raised $1,041. A Tonga Relief Bank account has been set up with the Kiwi Bank, and people can donate directly to this account as well. On Monday last week, the account had reached a total of more than $24,000. The national fundraising events for the Tonga Relief Fund will be finalised at the end of this month.
A prize-giving ceremony was held at the Taonga Niue building for the Vanguard Niue social media competition early this week Tuesday. Participants who entered the competition gathered to receive their prizes. Topping the first prize was the ECE teachers. Here's more on that story. The Niue National Commission, along with the Taonga Niue Council, announced the opening of the Vanguard Niue social media competition last week Monday. The theme was using technology to enhance Vanguard Niue, inviting the Niue youth to create a short video in Vanguard Niue, applying basic Niue phrases. The competition was also in celebration of the International Mother Language Day on Monday, 21st of February this week, which was also the closing date for the competition. Only 8 entries were submitted, and out of this 8, first prize went to the ECE teachers, second prize went to both Sarai Mangawa and the Niue Police Department, and third prize went to the Tamako Tonga Reading Group. There were also consolation prizes for those who entered. Sifa Ioane of the Niue National Commission and Taonga Niue Council told BCN News they hope to see more of our youth participate in furthering the development of our Vanguard Niue through the use of technology. Lucy Lofoli, representing the winning group of ECE teachers, says that she is grateful to the Niue National Commission and Taonga Niue Council for such opportunities to progressively encourage Vanguard Niue learning and teaching, especially for our young people. Here's the winning video of the competition by the ECE teachers. Alofi Mako took an incredible home win for the Open Mixed Touch tournament, which was held at the Niue High School fields last Saturday. Last Saturday, 12 teams participated in the Mixed Touch tournament, but only 4 teams made final placings. Coming in first place was Alofi Mako 1. Second place went to Tuapa Prototype. Third place was Tamava 1, and fourth placing went to Hakupu 1. This Saturday will be the Under-21 and the Masters Mixed Touch Tournament, which will also be held at the Niue High School fields. If weather permits, then the fields will open, says Principal Ioane, but until then it will remain closed. Before I leave you with the bulletin tonight, the Queen's Baton will arrive next week Monday to Niue via post, and it will be in the care of Maru Talangi, who is the president of the Niue National Sports Body, NISCA. BCN News will have exclusive coverage over the Queen's Baton program for next week until it departs Niue the following Monday. Until then, have a good weekend. Nonohoa mutorukia.